Welcome to Unfiltered Summit Sisters. I'm Gina.
And I'm Julia.
We are two ride-or-die best friends who are paving the path for what true, authentic relationships look like.
We're facing hardships head-on, having real, uncensored conversations, supporting each other's growth, and shining a light on true, raw healing.
We are navigating the world the best we know how,
Having a hell of a time doing it.
laughing every step of the way,
Through the rain
and sunshine.
This is Canyon Culture.
Welcome back to Unfiltered Summit Sisters. We've got kind of a newer environment today. We don't have like a massive view. I think everything we've done lately has had a pretty decent view behind us, and today is just pretty forest.
Just forest. It's
What did
so
you-
peaceful out
That's
here.
what I was going to say. What did you say when we first got here? Like, it's so peaceful.
It is.
But we keep forgetting about the wind, so we keep having to like cover up our microphones so you guys don't hear the wind.
Yeah.
It's really obnoxious. Oh. Nature has a lot to say today.
It's okay. It's not a bear.
We're keeping our eye out.
Yet.
Yet. Moose and bear, we're ready to go.
We're ready.
Anyway, I kind of wanted to talk about, we did an episode several weeks ago about how I went on like my first date in 3 years.
Yeah.
And it was like my second date since the divorce. We'll just call it second date as an adult, because dating when you're young as a teenager, super different.
We talked about that
It's really different. There's a creaking tree over there and it's creeping us out,
because it's huge, and if it falls, it's falling on us.
right? Because there's a whole forest and it's going to pick where we sit to fall. Anyway, so it's been about, it's so creepy.
It's fine.
Calm down. I can see it moving so much.
So she said.
It's pulsing. Okay,
Okay.
Focus.
Focus. Yes. Back to dating.
maybe we need open spaces so we have less distractions. We're like squirrel, like literal. Okay. So it's been a month and a half since that first date, and me and
Yeah.
this guy are still seeing each other,
Mhm.
which wasn't, I had no expectations, but here we are. And there's been a lot of, I don't even know what to call it.
Learning.
Yeah.
Growing. Healing.
Thank you.
I don't know where you're going. I'm just
Yes.
trying to vibe off right here.
Well, I've never, right? So, like, I've never, as an adult, we were talking about earlier today how different it is to date as an adult because you are a human. Not that teenagers aren't humans, but they don't, like, you don't have time to get to know who you are.
Yeah. You don't even know who you are yet.
Right. So, you go into a relationship with very little opinions
Mhm.
because you don't have any.
Right.
Like, we joked in the episode just about me and high school boyfriend, and we're just like, there was no life experiences for us to work through or to, like, we didn't have communication issues because we were teenagers.
Right.
And now you and I both have kids and we have jobs and we have a whole lot of life experience that we
Right.
slammed into 17 years
Mhm.
that are a big part of dating and getting to know somebody.
You know, it's funny, before I started dating after my divorce, I thought that I would want someone who hasn't been married.
Mm-hmm.
And that changed for me.
Did it change
Because-
before you had you were with your boyfriend, or did it change before you met him? And
Before.
Okay.
So before I started dating at all, I had the opinion of, I want somebody who's never been married. And that quickly changed to, I actually want someone who's been divorced. I want somebody who has walked through hard things in life. I want to know how you walked through that. I want to
Yeah.
know what helped you get through that situation. Because when you are put under that kind of pressure, and not just divorce, anything,
Yeah.
divorce, losing babies, losing jobs, having to rebuild your entire life,
Yeah.
just different situations. When you're under that kind of pressure, that's who you really are.
Well, you get pushed to the limit. So there's a lot of times we get told from people, I couldn't do what you did. And I often respond with, you just haven't been pushed to that edge.
Yeah, we had
We-
no choice. And if you were put in the same situation with no choice, you would.
And that doesn't belittle a lot of times praise that they're trying to give
Right,
us,
right.
but it's just letting people understand, like, there's a lot of things you don't know you're capable of doing until you have to do it.
Yes.
And so when you are put into divorce or loss or hardships in life, you're building character, you're building like, you're growing and you're becoming more of a person.
Yeah. My dad always says it's not the person you are is not who you are when everything is easy and
Mhm.
happy and rainbows and butterflies. The person you are is who you are when you're under pressure.
Yeah,
When life is putting pressure on you, what comes out of you, that's who you are.
absolutely. And that is something that I'm enjoying as dating as an adult,
Mhm.
is because I have opinions. I have walked through a whole lot of shit. And
Yeah.
so I can sit there and, well, walking through that shit also means I have a lot of baggage, which isn't fun,
Right.
but it pushes me to heal and grow even more. And
Mhm.
that's something that, even though we're just dating, it's still casual, but there's still so much growing and healing that I'm doing within this space that's been awesome. And it showcased some things that are hard, and it showcased areas where I still need to heal, because we have both talked about how there are so many places where we knew we needed, well, there's a lot of growing we know we need to do, but we
Mhm.
also know that those aren't going to come to the surface until we're with a partner.
Yes.
And even just in casual dating, I am already seeing those things.
Mhm.
And that's been interesting. And that's been, I don't want to say fun, because it's not fun, but um, I don't know. I think I've come to appreciate the healing journey. It's hard, but that's something else in a book I've been reading, and with some experiences this week, just remembering and relearning that emotions are meant to be felt, not pushed away.
Mm.
So even when things are hard or painful or whatever negative emotions you have, you're not meant to just get through those as fast as possible. You're meant to feel them, and that in turn will help, when you feel the joy,
Mhm.
have magnitude with that. And anyway, so
I think that's one thing about this is kind of off topic, but I think that's one thing about an advantage to being a single parent, to all of the things that you and I have walked through, is that we're able to find so much joy in small, mundane things because we have been through such dark, horrible things.
yeah,
We're able to really appreciate the small things. And I see my kids do the same too.
okay,
Like our um, just going to the store to grab treats, to go up the canyon.
yeah.
That's huge for my kids. They
It's
love
huge for
that.
us. It's huge for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
That freedom for us. I don't think you have to be divorced to experience that, but that's our path. I think a lot
Right.
of people have a lot of other experiences where they get to have the same outcome. But for you and I, for sure, our marriage has created a space where getting to experience these little things bring us
Mm-hmm.
that joy. And
Mm-hmm.
because I have the same thing, there's moments where I'm just, the peace that I feel sitting on the couch holding my kids while we're watching a movie, that simpleness.
Yes.
Because and I did that before while I was married, but there wasn't peace.
Right.
There was edge. There was
Mm-hmm.
spidey sense
Yeah.
that's always going.
I know. And I pray that I never take those things for granted.
Yeah, because it is pretty awesome. And I think that's how God is super amazing with stuff, because yes, things are hard and difficult, and a lot of times you're like, why this hurts so much? And he's like, just wait till you get to the other side. I promise it's going to be worth it, because you'll get to feel that light more. You'll get to experience better things. And so I'm getting to do that with dating. I'm getting to experience touches are so special. Just little things. Like, we're walking through a door and he has his hand on my lower back, and I'm just like, that is so
Mm-hmm.
sweet. And I'm so grateful that I have healed enough that I'm not freaking out about it,
Right.
which is great, because that was something I didn't anticipate, but I was like, that could be it. He could put his hand on my shoulder and I could be like, ah, what are you doing?
Right. I mean, it really wasn't that long ago,
Yeah.
a year ago,
Yeah.
where neither of us could even imagine having a man touch us or hug us or
Yeah.
without having fear.
Yeah.
And I think that that goes to show how much healing that we've done and how far we've come in just a year. I don't know about you. I often really I'm focused on the present, and I forget to look back and see how far we've come
Yeah.
in what really is a short amount of time.
Well, do you think that that's why you think you're able to not have the fear, is because you're being so present, you're not focusing on the past, so you're not
Mhm.
remembering, so you're able to just be here and not go, oh, remember when he touched me that way and then it turned into X, Y, and Z?
Right.
Is that, I'm asking, like, is that, do you think?
I think there's just so much healing that has happened and that has occurred, and so I'm not going to sit here and say that I never think about that or
Yeah.
I don't still occasionally have a flashback or a nightmare. I do occasionally, but they've
Yeah.
definitely gotten less and less, and they continue to get less and less.
Yeah.
But they don't hold power anymore
Yeah.
because yes, that's part of my story, that's part of my past, but I've healed that and I've moved on, and so having a flashback or having a nightmare, I'm able to move through that quicker
Good.
because it doesn't hold power in my life anymore.
Yeah. And it's funny to watch your boyfriend and the guy that I've been seeing. We make these comments and the look on their faces. I'm like, right,
It's our dark humor.
it's fine. He hasn't caught on too much about, I'm like, no, this was my reality. I don't think he gets that yet. He just kind of sweeps over it.
We talked about, okay, so there was a question that I asked my boyfriend when we first started dating. And it was, what does it look like when you get angry?
Yeah.
Which I think is a great question
No,
to ask.
That's an awesome question to ask, because if there's like, oh, I get temper and I do this, you're like, I need to know that.
Right. And so I asked, what happens? What does it look like when you get angry? And he said, I can get angry and I can get frustrated. Usually most of the time I want to work things out. I don't like leaving things, feeling not settled. Occasionally, if I do need a break, then, I'll go for a drive and then come back and work things out. And I was like, oh, so like you leave for like 3 days. He looked at me like, what? He was like, I meant like a 30-minute drive, and then we come back and talk and we're done. I was like, right. That's right. Gotcha. Not 3 days.
My favorite though is how funny we think that is, and to a lot of other people, they're like, that's not okay.
Right. And especially
you and I are
because
dying
this was
laughing.
when we first started dating.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, the look on his face.
Well, the times that we would say stuff and we're dying laughing and we look over, we're like, shoot, did we?
Right.
What did we do?
Or
wrong?
it's funny when one of us, when we're in public together, but not necessarily, we're kind of spread out, right?
You and him or you and me?
You and me.
Okay.
You and me. And one of us says something that the other can hear from across the room, and we're like, that's not
public.
Not here. That's me and you. Not.
My favorite right now, that was when we text stuff and we're just like, we can't do this in public. Like, what we're at Grandpa's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just like, we can't do church together. Like,
No.
We're just like trying to be reverent during certain parts. And I'm just like, snicker, text. And you're like,
Well, I'm like, did you see the picture of Jesus?
He's so judgmental.
He is so, no, the one at this was actually not at the wedding. This was at the Christmas party. I was like, Jesus is hot.
You guys have hot Jesus. I was like, oh my God.
It's like, yeah, we are not allowed to go to church together.
No. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Sorry.
Anyway, back
Just
to the dating.
little off track. This is how it is with us. It's fine.
It is.
To be honest, the fact that we've done this for like a year now, we've stayed on track to as much as we have. Pretty proud of us.
Right.
Yeah. But today.
So what I'm hearing is we're getting a treat on the way home.
Okay.
Perfect.
Excellent. Not the nerd clusters in my glove box because somebody ate those.
Freaking children.
Oh, they're the worst. So yeah, it's been, when I say roller coaster, you have to understand the scale, right? My marriage roller coaster was like the biggest one on the planet. This one's like the little kitty ones where it's just wee, wee.
Oh, cute.
You know, right. Yeah. It's very cute. But when you're in it, you're like, what is happening? So, this guy that I'm dating, he had a rough week with stuff with his kid that he has and some work stuff. And so, and he just we're learning about each other, and he's learning how to process stuff. And so he was like quiet and off on his own. And I'm like, oh, he hates me. He's done. He wants me out of here. And then I feel like every time I have those feelings or thoughts, it takes like less than a day and things get like fixed. And it's that same thing where he comes back and he calls me up and he's just like, I'm sorry I've been so distant. I'm trying to figure all this out and I'm learning how to do it. And I was like, oh, so you don't hate me? He's like, no, actually, I'd really like to see you tomorrow. And I'm like in real life, or like I'm questioning everything. If I don't drive this man away with just that, like questioning him alone. But But all of these things, and like one of the things I was talking to you about that you have given me a lot of great advice over the last couple weeks as I am just struggling with trying to figure out stuff. One of the things that I brought up is I was just like, it feels really early to have this conversation. So let me back up a little bit. One of our first couple of dates, I got triggered. And I remember when you were starting to date, you would get triggered and it would happen in the moment.
Right.
And I didn't have any anticipations, but I did get triggered, but it didn't showcase until I got home. And then the panic came in and then the tears came and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I freaked out and it was a big thing. And I was like, it feels too early. It was literally our second date. And I was like, it feels too early to bring this up. And you were like, there is no time frame.
Yeah.
And we just discussed how much, especially with our specific past, the fact that we have kids, the fact that we're, in our mid 30s, like we've got life experiences. There is no too early.
Right.
If you don't want to waste your time, but also like bring it up. And something, anyway, so I text him and I was just like, I got triggered the other night. I was wondering if you'd be willing to meet up and we can talk through this. That alone, I'm pretty sure I sent that text message at 4:00 in the morning when I have less of a filter and less like I'm nervous. You know what I mean? Like I don't overthink as much when I'm loopy.
Yeah.
It's like me drunk, right? I've never been drunk, but that's what I would assume. It's like I would have to have a couple drinks to like be brave enough to do stuff like that. So it was 4:00 in the morning. I sent him that text. He's like, yeah, of course. And so later that night we met up and I still was so scared. And I'm learning that so much of what I had with my marriage, my needs were never met or considered. They were used as weapons.
Right.
If I had anything to bring up, I just had to suffer in silence because if I did mention it, again, it was like, oh, there's a weakness I can poke at for later.
Yeah.
So I just, like, I don't even know how to advocate for myself at this point. But I don't want to be that way. And I want to be the idea of being my authentic self. You keep telling me to do that as I'm overthinking. There was a text message I wanted to send and you're like, you're overthinking it. If this is how you really are, send it. If he doesn't like it and it pushes him away, he's not your person.
Right.
And that's just information that you need. And I love that. And I literally say that to myself all the time.
Good.
I'm like, just be your authentic self. And now that I think part of it when I first went on like when I first dated at the beginning of my divorce, I didn't know who I was, so I couldn't be my authentic self. And now I do know who I am, and so I can.
Yeah.
And so I was able to send that text message, and I was able to say, hey, let's have this conversation. But I still got there, and I was a babbling buffoon.
But you did it.
But I did it. And he was great. And that's the thing is I was just like, he's like, okay, so you do want to keep seeing each other? Like he thought I was going to be like, I don't want to see you anymore. And I was like, well, like, yeah, if you're okay with this, like the fact that I got triggered with this and you're willing to be sensitive about it. And he's like, of course. Like I was asking him if I could breathe air. And he's like,
you don't need my permission for that, but.
And so I'm just learning different ways that I have damage in my marriage that I still have wounds from that are unhealed because I didn't have any relationship to showcase where those wounds were.
Yeah.
So a lot of that's coming up with being my authentic self, but also learning how to stand up for myself. So one of the situations that I really loved, a conversation that we had was, so when he kind of went a little bit more quiet, I wanted to check in. Like I wanted to check in. I want to be like, what do you need? How can I support you? Kind of a thing. But I also find that a lot of times I dive too far into that and conform into what I think this person wants.
Right.
And I no longer say, I can do that, but I'm also going to need this, like setting boundaries, right? So it's like, yeah, we can totally support you this way, but maybe when I'm having a hard time saying, this is what I need, I'm having a hard time and this is like, I don't advocate for myself. So I swing, in the extremes, like we're weird. Like we never do. So I'm over there going, if I can show up for him without losing myself, can I show up for that? So again, it's just more and more of being my authentic self and learning how to stand up for myself. And not that he's not giving me that space, but I have to be brave enough to do it because I wasn't in my marriage. And that's sad. Like that's really, because we had a conversation. You're like, what are your needs? I was like, I'm sorry, what? You're like, what would be your needs right now? And I was like, I don't even know. Like I wouldn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of times my answers are like, I need a hug. I'm like, yeah, a hug's nice, but it's a need, but it's not working through anything.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. So there's just different things like that that are showcasing, and I'm really enjoying that journey, not
Mm-hmm.
because it feels good or it's fluffy and pretty and rainbowy, but it's healing.
Yes.
And that means there's something on the other side for that.
Yeah. And you've been doing a really good job with it too, because you have been doing so much healing and been doing so many brave things and just being your authentic self. And so, I mean, even in the last 6 weeks, like I think there's so much that's been healed.
And that's where I also enjoy the lesson that I shared, I think, in the first episode about me dating, of I need to not jump to the end.
Right.
Right now, this is great. And right now, he's a part of my journey, and I'm already healing a bunch, and he's offering that space, and he's been kind and safe.
Yes.
And I really appreciate God continuing to put men in my life where I can feel safe so that I can rewrite that story. Because I don't love how unsafe I feel with men in general, because that limits my ability to see the good that God has put into a lot of men.
Absolutely.
That we have in our lives. So,
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, on the flip side, I get hugs and kisses, and it's great.
Yes. Yes. And cuddles and just the touches.
So we were talking a few weeks ago, and you were kind of just sharing how I was going through a hard thing, and I was like, I just like, we talk often about a hug from a masculine source.
Yeah.
As women, we can just kind of melt into that, and we feel like the weight is lifted off of our shoulders. Especially as single moms, we've got this extra heavy weight because no one else is carrying it. And a lot of times this idea in our head about getting a hug from a masculine energy, they will carry that for that moment. And you are experiencing that with your boyfriend. You're like, no, it really does make a difference. I think at the beginning you're like, I really hate to tell you, but yes, it does. And I'm so sorry you don't have that.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I want to hear that. It gives me hope that that's something in my future. And I lost my train of thought where I was going with this.
It's okay. But it does. It's super powerful, just that masculine energy, and that having that hug and that embrace, that protective energy too that they have, just calms your nervous system. Yeah.
And I keep explaining to people, I was like, I feel like I have static under my skin. It's not ants where I feel like I have to move and get it out, right? You know, but it gets just constant vibration, and not a good vibration, just constant static. And since I have now this space where I get to go and get hugs and cuddles, I remember the first time we cuddled, I came home, and that rest of that weekend, my patience level, I just felt calm.
Yeah.
And it didn't last a crazy long time. But I was just getting to be in that space, getting taken care of, being right, like getting loved on.
Yes.
I was like, oh, this is fabulous. This is everything I thought it was going to be and more.
Yes.
Because that's the thing. I don't feel like, I mean, even in my marriage, if we did cuddle, the last several years wasn't like that.
Yeah.
So it's not just the 5 years since my divorce. We were talking possibly closer to 10.
A long time.
And even so, I don't feel that same safety that I do with this guy, even though I just met him, right? So it's been really fun. So it's been really nice to just have just these moments where I get to just be Gina. I get to get loved on. I get to be taken care of.
I think those aren't they called glimmers?
Are they?
Have you seen that on social media? And glimmers are the opposite of triggers.
Oh.
And they're just
these.
Yes, they're glimmers, and so they are these moments of peace.
Yeah.
And I love that, and I love that they're called glimmers.
Okay, we're gonna start using that more.
Yeah.
Like, here's my glimmers for the day.
Oh my goch, I love that.
Because
so much better than triggers.
Weird.
I'm gonna have my quiet time with God in the morning and be like, no triggers today, just glimmers.
If we could put in a recommendation, that's what we would like.
That's my order for the day.
I need to still work on my overthinking, and I'm learning that I'm not a great communicator, and I'm trying to be brave and do that better.
I don't think it's true that you're not a great communicator.
Okay.
I think that you don't have experience communicating, period. Which is different. I think you are a good communicator. Okay. You communicate well with me.
Okay.
Now I know it's different with a man.
Yeah.
I know that's different, but it's also the first time
Yeah.
ever that
Yeah.
you're communicating like this.
Yeah.
So you're building experience.
I am building experience. So, okay, well, I don't mind reframing things. It doesn't have to stay in the negative.
Yeah.
But to kind of wrap it up, it's fun and it's hard, and even and that's the part that's crazy, is that it's been a month and a half, and it's hard and it's fun, right?
Yes.
And both of those feelings get to coexist, and I really am loving that God has put this man in my life where I have these insecurities or I have these things, and he just naturally is kind of knocking them down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for instance, I think I Marco Polo'd you, and I was just like, I keep having, like, he's not very verbal about how he feels about me, or I don't know, like, he doesn't love bomb me with his words of affection.
Right.
Which I appreciate, because actions speak louder than words, but I have to train my body because my body is not used to that. My body is used to being love bombed with words and the actions not matching.
Right.
And so and later that day, he gets back from a hike, and I'm over there just like, oh, he's been quiet. He hates me again. I'm done. He's kicking me to the curb. And he texted me. He's like, I just got back from a hike, and he's like, I really wish you were with me. And I was like, thanks, God. Just kidding. My bad. Put that away. Right?
I'll just pretend I didn't say that.
But I have started this thing, and I'm hoping this is going to help with our communication. Not that him and I have bad communication. We're just learning how to.
Right.
But because face-to-face sometimes is a little bit harder for me, but if I start a conversation maybe over text message and we pick it up in person, anyway, so
right.
It's a little bit easier.
I only laugh because I have done the same thing.
Okay, good.
And I've gotten a lot better about having face-to-face, but still, if there's something really hard or really heavy, I'm like, to my boyfriend, I'm like, can you leave and I'll text you?
Could you go to the bathroom real quick?
No, I'm like, leave. Get in your car and leave, and then I'll text you.
Well, it breaks, because that...
Which is totally not, and that's not an energy I want to be in. Like, I'm here to grow. I'm here to learn. I'm here
But I think it's a good stepping stone. Because I don't mind having the face-to-face conversations, but a lot of times bringing it up is that idea of, here's a need that is being unmet. And I have had, 13 years of a relationship where I go, here is a need unmet, and that was told that's dumb or stupid or not important.
Right. So then we just stopped communicating our needs altogether.
Yes.
So now having needs and communicating them feels uncomfortable.
Well, for me right now in my healing, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It has brought me to tears, just going like, I don't even know how to tell a partner or a future partner how to care for me, because I'm nervous that the idea of saying, here's my need, and him having anything but the best option is like, that feels so painful, because it mirrors my marriage way too much. Anything negative, if I say I really need food and he goes, we're not getting food for 30 minutes, is a super stupid example, but that I'm going to go, so my needs don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And that rejection, and that right now where I'm at with my wound, I will place with my self-worth and go, oh, so I'm not worth I'm worth nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a fun place to be in.
No. I'm learning that I have more of an avoidant attachment style.
Oh, I could have told you that. Could it be when you're like, hey, I'm going to run away? Was that your first cue?
More avoidant, because I shut down.
Yeah.
Is what I do.
Yeah.
And so I will play dead and disappear for 3 days like Jesus.
Like Jesus. You're so holy.
I'm so holy.
I will play dead like Jesus. He's like, I was just playing, guys. I was just playing.
And so that is something that I'm having to work on. Like currently right now today. Because
this moment right now.
There's literally something that my boyfriend and I need to discuss, and he tried to last night and I avoided. Weird.
Like, I have a hangnail, I can't do this right now.
Yeah. Like, I gotta wash my arm.
Just the left one though.
Yeah. That is something that I am having to work on.
It's
which
hard.
I will be working on today, apparently.
This is the thing though. I watch how you are with your boyfriend and I hear about just the struggles that you guys go through after the fact. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't know, proud, impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Jealous isn't the right word, but I'm just like, gosh, she is crushing it because you, after you're done, I'm like, wow, you did great. You're like, no, I was terrified.
Yeah.
We don't see that. We don't see the terrified. I don't hear about it until you're done. Anyway, it's something that I just admire about you. And I love watching you through that whole
'Cause
process.
I think bravery doesn't always look courageous and brave. Sometimes bravery is doing things scared.
I think that is the
terrified.
majority of the time being brave. That is the definition
So
of
thank you. But also know that comes with a lot of fear.
yeah.
And I force myself to walk through
But
it.
that's what I'm saying. I love that you do that. I think that's a great example for me and all of our children.
I feel like you're reverse psychologying me into having a conversation that I need to have today.
Well, I don't doubt that you're having the conversation. That's the thing. I don't feel like I need to reverse
I'm
because
like,
I know
don't
you're
know.
going to
This
do
is
it.
really pretty. You can just leave me here.
You're going to play dead. I'll come get you in 3 days.
That's perfect.
I'll put a
Might
rock
be a
over-
little chilly. Do you have another blanket?
You can take this one.
Okay.
I have the inflatable mattress thing we could inflate for you.
Perfect. We'll start a fire before you leave.
Perfect. Oh, there's like a pop-up tent over there too.
Oh, yeah.
It may be broken, but I'm sure with the little MacGyvering we'll get it fixed.
Right. I mean, there's enough trees, and if that one falls,
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you and I have done a better job, I would say, the last couple weeks connecting with each other. I feel like a lot of the advice you've given me, a lot of the moments that I have needed to be brave and put on my big girl pants, I've got things that you and I have talked about. I've got your voice in my head and you just being my soulmate and my companion, just going, nope, we've talked about this. I can do this. Or I'm overthinking and I need to navigate this way. I feel like you're such a huge part in my growth and healing because you are a conduit from God. And I love that you partner with God so that his answers to my prayers have the opportunity to come through you and that we've been able to connect so that, because again, like how many times do we go through things? I'm like, I literally couldn't do this without you. That's where I'm at right now. I'm going, how many conversations have we had where I walk away going, Julia said I can do it. I can do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, or I'm having conversations with him and I'm just like, I say things. I'm like, Julia said that, by the way.
I love it. I love it. But you do the same for me.
Because we're freaking awesome.
You do the same. Yeah, absolutely. That's why we need each other.
Yeah. So I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful we connected a lot more this week than we have because
it just gets busy. And even with being so close location-wise,
it made it worse.
it's a lot of kids and a lot of businesses and a lot of, right?
Yeah.
It's all a lot. But yeah, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that we were intentional to connect more this week. We need more of that.
Yeah, we do. Especially because the canyon's going to close soon. So we really need to be spending more time up here. But the fact that we have
For all my
blankets
Texas people and Texas listeners, that means that there's SNOW coming.
Thank you for not swearing on the podcast. Did you say what you're grateful for? I already forgot.
I did.
Okay, thanks.
Forgot? It was you. I was grateful for you and our intentional time connecting this week, but it's okay. Don't worry about it.
I just know that you're always grateful for me, so I'm like, obviously. Next. Okay, anyway, we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Unfiltered Summit Sisters.
Come join us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to get a sneak peek into our lives.
It's beautiful, chaotic, crazy, and fun.
What else would you expect raising 10 kids?
All the links you need are in the show notes.
See you next week.